My name is Maya Hayes, and I am 25 years old. For as long as I can remember, my life has been lived in the brilliant, blinding shadow of my twin sister, Olivia. We share the same birthday, the same wavy brown hair, the same slight curve to our smiles, but that's where the similarities end. Olivia is the sun. I am the moon, reflecting her light, often eclipsed by it. She's the golden child, effortlessly collecting accolades, charming everyone she meets, gliding through life with an ease I can only dream of. I'm Maya, the quieter one, the artistic one, the one who always seems to be struggling, perpetually falling short of the impossible standard set by my seemingly perfect other half. We grew up in a comfortable suburban bubble outside Philadelphia. Dad, Robert, is an architect. Mom, Helen, a retired nurse. They're good parents, loving in their own way, but their pride in Olivia has always been overt, effusive. My achievements were met with a gentle, "That's nice, dear," while Olivia's slightest success prompted champagne toasts and lengthy phone calls to relatives. She was the A student, the debate team captain, the one who got into an Ivy League school on early admission. I was the one sketching in notebooks, taking refuge in the art room, the one who ended up at a state college with a partial scholarship I had to fight for. Now, at 25, the pattern continues. Olivia is a rising star at a prestigious law firm downtown, engaged to a similarly ambitious lawyer, planning a wedding that will undoubtedly be featured in society pages. I'm a freelance graphic designer, hustling for gigs, sharing a cramped apartment with 2 roommates, constantly juggling deadlines and overdue invoices. It's not a bad life, but compared to Olivia's trajectory, it feels perpetually less than. And the worst part? The nagging, insidious feeling that Olivia hasn't just been lucky, she's actively worked to maintain the disparity. Little things over the years. The portfolio I needed for a scholarship mysteriously vanishing the night before the deadline, only to reappear weeks later under her bed. Oops, must have borrowed it. The potential client she forgot to pass my contact information to. The subtle digs disguised as helpful advice. "Maya, are you sure this design competition is right for you?" It seems very high level. Always delivered with that perfect, concerned smile that made me doubt my own suspicions. Am I just jealous? Uncharitable? Or is she deliberately keeping me in her shadow? This brings me to 3 months ago, and the opportunity one thought would finally change everything. The prestigious Coleman Grant for Emerging Artists, a $50,000 award that could launch my career, allowing me to open my own small design studio. I had poured months into my application, a portfolio showcasing my best work, and a detailed proposal for a community art project. It felt like the strongest work I had ever done. Olivia, surprisingly, had seemed genuinely supportive. She reviewed my proposal, offered suggestions, even helped me practice my presentation for the final interview. "You've got this, Maya," she'd said, squeezing my hand. "This is your time." For the first time in years, I felt a flicker of our childhood closeness, a hope that maybe we could finally move past the silent competition. The final interview was scheduled for Friday afternoon. It was the biggest moment of my professional life. Thursday night, Olivia called me, her voice tight with panic. "Maya, disaster. My appendix. I think it burst. I'm at the ER. Can you come? Please, I'm scared." My heart leaped into my throat. Without a second thought, I grabbed my keys and raced to the hospital across town, my grant application forgotten. I spent the next 6 hours in the sterile waiting room, imagining the worst, texting frantic updates to our parents. Finally, a doctor emerged. "False alarm," he said calmly. "Just severe indigestion. We gave her something for the pain. She can go home." Indigestion. I found Olivia sitting up in a hospital bed, scrolling through her phone, looking remarkably well. "Oh, hey," she said casually. "Guess it wasn't my appendix after all. Crazy, right? Thanks for coming." I stared at her, the adrenaline draining away, replaced by a cold, sickening realization. The interview. It was scheduled for noon tomorrow. I had missed the final prep session with my mentor. My portfolio case, with the specific presentation boards I needed, was back at my apartment. "Olivia," I said slowly, "my grant interview is tomorrow." She looked up, feigning surprise. "Oh my God, I totally forgot. With all this drama. But you'll be fine, right? You're amazing." I wasn't fine. I barely slept that night, my mind racing. I arrived at the interview flustered, sleep-deprived, missing key visual aids. I stumbled through my presentation, my confidence shattered. I knew, even before the rejection email arrived a week later, that I had blown it. Olivia's emergency had perfectly, devastatingly, sabotaged my chance. When I confronted her, she turned on the waterworks. How can you accuse me of that? I was in pain. I needed my sister. She made me feel like the monster for even questioning her timing. My parents, of course, took her side. You should be grateful your sister's okay, Maya. My mother said reproachfully. The grant wasn't meant to be. That was the breaking point. The casual cruelty, the plausible deniability, the way she always came out smelling like roses while my dreams wilted. I needed space. I needed to escape the suffocating weight of our history. 2 weeks later, my parents mentioned they were finally clearing out the attic, a dusty repository of forgotten memories they'd been meaning to tackle for years. They asked if I wanted to come help sort through old boxes, maybe retrieve some childhood keepsakes before things got donated or tossed. Normally, I would have made an excuse, but something pulled me back. Maybe I needed a tangible connection to a time before Olivia's shadow became so long. The attic was exactly as I remembered, cramped, hot, smelling faintly of mothballs and decades-old dust. Boxes labeled Maya's schoolwork, Olivia's trophies, Christmas decorations lined the eaves. I started opening boxes randomly, sifting through crayon drawings, old report cards, photos of awkward teenage phases. It was bittersweet, a reminder of shared moments that felt increasingly distant. In the far corner, tucked behind a stack of my father's old architectural blueprints, was a heavy, sealed wooden box I didn't recognize. It wasn't labeled like the others. Curiosity piqued. I dragged it into the weak light filtering through the attic window. It was locked, a simple brass latch. I jimmied it open with the edge of an old ruler. Inside, nestled among yellowed baby blankets and tiny knitted booties, was a thick manila envelope marked simply, Personal, H&R Hayes. My parents' initials. My heart started to pound. What was this? Hidden away, locked up? I pulled out the contents. Official-looking documents, hospital records, and folded sheets of legal paper. Adoption papers. My breath caught. Who had my parents adopted? It made no sense. Then my eyes fell on the name listed on the certificate of final adoption, Olivia Susan Hayes. Date of birth, June 14th, 1999. My birthday. Adoptive parents, Helen and Robert Hayes. Biological parents, Michael and Susan Vance.
Vance.
My mother's maiden name, Susan Vance, my mother's younger sister. My Aunt Susan and Uncle Michael. I vaguely remembered them from early childhood. Warm smiles, trips to the zoo. They had died when a car accident, I recalled my parents saying a long time ago, when Olivia and I were babies. The dates on the documents confirmed it. Michael and Susan Vance, killed in a collision just 3 months after Olivia's birth. And then, the adoption decree, finalized when Olivia was 6 months old. Olivia wasn't my twin. She wasn't my sister. She was my cousin. The attic floor seemed to tilt beneath me. I sank down onto an old trunk, the papers clutched in my trembling hands. A whirlwind of fragmented memories, half-understood comments, and unsettling feelings suddenly clicked into place with horrifying clarity. The subtle differences in how my parents treated us. Olivia's almost desperate need to excel, to be perfect. My mother's fierce, almost overcompensating protectiveness of her. The complete absence of any baby photos showing us together in the hospital, something I'd once casually questioned and Mom had brushed off. They had lied. My parents had constructed an elaborate, lifelong deception, raising their orphan niece as their own daughter, as my twin, burying the truth so deep that even we didn't know.
Why?
To protect her? To fulfill a promise to my dying aunt? Or something else? I sat there in the dusty silence of the attic, the weight of their secret pressing down on me, heavier than any box. Olivia's sabotage, her relentless competition, her need to always be better, brighter, more loved. Did it stem from this? An unconscious insecurity? A buried awareness of not quite belonging? Had the lie itself warped her, turned her into the person who couldn't bear for me to succeed? My grief over the lost grant was suddenly overshadowed by a far greater, more complex pain. My entire life, my identity as a twin, the very foundation of my family, was built on a lie. And now, I was the only one, besides my parents, who knew the truth. I confronted them that evening. I walked into the living room where they were watching television, the adoption papers held tightly in my hand. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I simply placed the documents on the coffee table in front of them. "Who is Olivia Susan Hayes?" I asked, my voice dangerously quiet. The color drained from their faces. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. My father stared at the papers, then at me, his eyes filled with a mixture of terror and resignation. The confession tumbled out, haltingly at first, then in a flood of guilt and justification. Yes, Olivia was their niece. Yes, her parents, my Aunt Susan and Uncle Michael, had died tragically. Yes, they had adopted her, raising her as my twin to shield her from the trauma, to give her a normal life, to honor my mother's promise to her dying sister. "We thought it was for the best," my mother sobbed. "We didn't want her to feel different, to feel like an orphan. We wanted you both to grow up as equals, as true sisters." "Equals?" I asked, the word tasting like ash in my mouth. "We were never equals. You always favored her. Was it guilt? Were you trying to make up for what she lost by giving her everything and me less?" They denied it, of course, stumbling over explanations about different needs, different personalities. But I saw the truth in their averted eyes. The lie hadn't created equality. It had created a desperate need to overcompensate, showering Olivia with attention and resources while I faded into the background. The secret had poisoned everything. "Does Olivia know?" I asked. "No," my father said quickly, his voice sharp with fear. "And she can never know, Maya. It would destroy her. Promise us you won't tell her." Promise them? After a lifetime of living with the consequences of their lie, I looked at my parents, seeing not the pillars of strength I once believed them to be, but two people trapped by a decision made decades ago, terrified of the truth unraveling. The dilemma weighed heavily on me in the following weeks. Keeping the secret felt like condoning the deception, perpetuating the toxic dynamic that had defined my relationship with Olivia. But revealing it felt like detonating a bomb in the heart of our family, destroying Olivia's identity and exposing my parents' monumental lie to the world. And what about Olivia's sabotage? Understanding its potential roots didn't excuse the behavior. Did revealing the truth offer a path to stopping it, or would it just unleash a new kind of chaos? I decided I had to talk to Olivia. Not to expose her, not yet, but to understand. To see if there was any way to break the pattern without shattering her world completely. I invited her for coffee, choosing a neutral cafe away from our usual haunts. She arrived looking radiant as always, full of chatter about her upcoming wedding and a recent promotion. I let her talk for a while, then gently steered the conversation. "Olivia," I began carefully, "I've been thinking a lot about us lately, about why things have always felt competitive between us." She immediately went on the defensive. "Competitive? Maya, that's all in your head. I've always supported you." "Have you?" I asked quietly. "What about the Coleman grant interview? The emergency appendicitis?" Her eyes flashed with anger, then shifted to practiced hurt. "I told you I was sick. How can you still be bringing that up? You're just jealous because you didn't get it." "Am I?" I leaned forward, lowering my voice. "Or is there something else? Something you're afraid of? Afraid I might finally step out of your shadow?" She recoiled as if struck. "That's ridiculous. I have nothing to be afraid of. My life is perfect." "Is it?" I held her gaze. "Or is it built on something fragile?" I saw a flicker of panic in her eyes before she masked it with fury. "You know what, Maya? I don't need this. If you're just going to sit here and project your insecurities onto me, I'm leaving." She stood up abruptly, grabbing her designer bag. "Olivia, wait," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "What if I told you? I know." She froze, halfway out of her seat. "Know what?" she asked, her voice tight. I looked into her eyes, identical to mine, yet suddenly so foreign. "I know you're not my twin." Her face went utterly blank. The color drained away, leaving her features sharp, almost skeletal. She sank back into her chair, her breath coming in short, sharp gasps. For a moment, I thought she might faint. Then something shifted. The panic in her eyes was replaced by a chilling coldness. "You found them," she said, her voice flat, devoid of emotion. "The papers in the attic." My heart pounded. She knew? "You knew all along?" A bitter, humorless smile touched her lips. "Not always. I found them when I was 16, snooping for Christmas presents." Quite the shock, finding out your entire identity is a lie. She leaned forward, her voice dropping to an intense whisper. "And I decided right then and there, no one else would ever know. I would be Olivia Hayes, the perfect daughter, the successful twin. I would earn the life they gave me, the life that should have been yours." The confession stunned me into silence. She hadn't been driven by unconscious insecurity. She had been driven by a conscious, calculated fear of exposure. Her sabotage wasn't accidental. It was deliberate, a way to ensure I never rose high enough to threaten her carefully constructed reality. "The grant," I whispered. "You did it on purpose." "Of course," she said, her eyes glittering with a cold triumph. "I couldn't risk you getting ahead, becoming too visible. What if someone started asking questions? What if the truth came out? I had to keep you manageable." The cruelty of her words, the years of subtle manipulation now laid bare, took my breath away. "So what now?" I finally asked. She leaned back, regaining her composure, the mask of the golden child snapping back into place, albeit cracked. "Now," she said, her voice dangerously smooth, "you keep quiet. You go back to being Maya, the struggling artist. You let me have my perfect wedding, my perfect life. Because if you breathe a word of this to anyone, Maya, I promise you, I will destroy you in ways you can't even imagine. The lie is my life now, and I will protect it at any cost." I walked out of that cafe, leaving Olivia sitting there, a queen ruling over a kingdom built on sand. The knowledge was a heavy burden, but it was also liberating. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't just jealous. I was the target of a desperate, lifelong campaign of sabotage fueled by a secret she would kill to protect. The path forward was unclear. The secret remained, a ticking bomb within our family. But my relationship with Olivia, the twin I thought I knew, was over. In her place was a stranger, a cousin consumed by a lie, capable of anything. And I knew, with chilling certainty, that my struggle wasn't over. It had just entered a new, more dangerous phase.